Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekly webinar with Real Wealth Network. My name is Ben Smith. I'm the Director of Investor Relations and the occasional investment counselor, although lately it's been more like 90% investment counselor. But welcome. We do this every week, as most of you are probably aware. Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. And we archive these, by the way, if you're unable to attend live, and all the webinars are archived. So if you're hearing my voice now, you know that it's live. But if you can't do it at this time, we always have them archived. Just log into Real Wealth Network and navigate over, assuming you've had a strategy session with us, navigate over to the Pittsburgh, PA page, and there will be the webinar archived there. So anyway, we do this every week. So glad you could join us. And today, of course, is February 21st, 2019. Strategies mentioned may not be appropriate for everybody. Always like to point out that there's a lot of other options that aren't mentioned, and they may be more suitable depending on your circumstance and your particular situation. Make sure you talk to your CPA, your attorney, and anybody else to discuss your specific situation. Past performance never a guarantee of future results. Real estate purchases are subject to investment risks, including the possible loss of amounts invested. While every effort is made to maintain accurate and current information, the possibility of errors and or updates always exists. Like I always like to say, just trust us, but verify what we say, because you never know, and it's always good to do your own due diligence. So hey, you know what? Before we go on to our team, I did want to mention that on our upcoming events, we've got a big event coming up Saturday, March 9th and Sunday, March 10th. On Saturday, we're going to be in San Mateo, California, and on Sunday, we're going to be in Los Angeles. And we've got 3 teams, including who you're going to hear from today. We've got Pittsburgh coming out, we've got Detroit coming out, and Jacksonville. And this is not a sure thing, but we believe that we may have a syndication situation coming out as well. Like we might have someone come out and talk about a possible bigger deal. That's not for sure yet, so that's why it's not posted anywhere. But anyway, regardless, it's going to be a good event. 3 different cities coming out, plus a possible bigger deal. And once again, that's the 9th and 10th of March. They're both going to happen in the middle of the day, so make sure that you mark it down. And if you could, rather than just show up, if you could register in advance, that would really help us, because sometimes these events are pretty difficult to figure out how many people are showing up, because we've got X number register and then X number don't show up, and then X number show up having not registered, and it makes it very difficult, usually having to rush chairs in or whatever. So the URL is right down there at the bottom of the slide, but it's realwealthnetwork.com/live-events. realwealthnetwork.com/live-events/. So there you go. And I just had to read that off. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to turn it over to our Pittsburgh expert, who many of you may have heard. He's one of the longest running teams that we've had with Real Wealth Network. Been around for quite some time. Years ago, I bought a property from Pittsburgh, and I still have it today. It's been a great rental for me, and we've got quite a few people who have done so. So you will do a much better job of telling your family story, especially with some of the pronunciations, than I will be able to. So without going on and on, I'm going to turn it over to you and take it away.
Thank you very much, Ben. Ben/Smith, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, don't forget the www.
www. So, we've been working with Real Wealth for over 10 years now, and it's been such a blessing to us and our families and the Real Wealth and the clients that we've worked with. It's been a very good relationship that's been beneficial to all areas. And we believe a few reasons that is the case, that we have been working together for so long. And one of those things was what Ben just said. We always encourage our clients to trust but verify. We want you to verify everything we're telling you, because we feel that that's the best way to establish a long-term relationship. Also, we primarily focus on long-term relationships. The majority of our clients end up purchasing normally between 1 to 2 to 3 properties a year from us because we build those long-term relationships. And also, we aim to under-promise and over-deliver. Therefore, not always apologizing, but we would rather not give you best case scenario, but give you somewhere the middle ground scenario and then beat that scenario if possible. That way you're calling Ben back and you're calling the other investment counselors back saying, hey, this Pittsburgh team is really awesome. I really like what they do. And then Real Wealth Network wants to send us more business, and you as our client want to bring us more business and refer us to other people. So that's a little bit about why we believe we've been with Real Wealth as long as we have, and we've been doing this as long as we have. Another reason is that we are a family-owned and operated business, just like Real Wealth is, and therefore we have a lot of family values, and we don't see a difference between business and personal life. We see it all as the same thing, and I'm going to explain to you how that works with us. My great-great-grandmother, Baba Bezicevic, came from Croatia to the United States and actually to Pittsburgh in 1895. She came over on boat with her husband and her 2 daughters, and they rented a 2-bedroom apartment in Pittsburgh. And what happened was Baba Bezicevic and her family lived in 1 bedroom, and they rented out the other bedroom to 5 Croatian immigrants. She did everything they needed to live. She cooked for them. She cleaned for them. She did their laundry. She made their lunches. All they had to do was go to work in the steel mills and then come home and pay Bubba. And that's what happened from 1895 until 1925. During those 30 years, Baba Bezicevic collected all that rent and saved all that money. And in 1925, she purchased our family's first investment property here in Pittsburgh. And the cool thing is, it never stopped. Once our family started investing, it never stopped. That same building from 1925 is still in our family today. If you're in our family, it's not if you're going to invest in real estate, it's when are you going to invest in real estate. For example, my wife and I, we have 3 young boys. We have he just turned 9. We have a 9-year-old, we have a 7-year-old, and we have a 3-year-old. And all 3 of them are active real estate investors. As I sit here in my office, they actually 3 together own a property about 4 streets over from me. And that's what real estate is about in our family. It allows us to have our money working for us rather than us working for our money. And that's what we want to do with each one of you that are listening today. Another cool thing about the story of Baba Bezicevic is that Baba Bezicevic did not speak 1 word of English. She did all of that not speaking any English. So if anyone who's listening today speaks English, which I hope you all do, then you'll be able to understand me. You have a leg up on Baba Bezicevic. You can start your family legacy of real estate investing, and that's what we invite you to do with us here in Pittsburgh. So
I just had a question. You've been saying that for years, and I always just thought it was one long word, but now it's just dawned on me. I'm a little slow. Baba is the Croatian term for grandmother or mother, and Bezicevic is her actual name, right? So you're just kind of stringing those 2 words together.
yeah, I didn't even know I was stringing them together, but being the Pittsburgher that I am, that's what I do. But yes, it's 2
Okay.
separate words.
Got it. Okay. Well, no, it's just in my mind. I was like, man, that's a long name. And now I realize Bubba is like, that's the mom or grandma term. And then
That's right.
Bezicevic. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue. Didn't mean to slow you down there.
And one of the cool things is that Ben actually owns the property that Ben owns with us and the property that Kathy and Rich own with us. It's actually in the same exact town that Baba Bezicevic bought our family's first investment property in 1925, which is the same exact town I'm sitting in right now in my office. And that's one of the other reasons that we encourage you as clients to invest with us, because we don't just move to different cities depending on how that city does. We are born and raised here, and we are ingrained in this community, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. We're going to be your ears, eyes, hands, and feet on the ground in Pittsburgh for as long as you own your investment property. And we have many, many clients that will attest to that. So why else invest here? there's been major transformations to revitalize neighborhoods and to revitalize downtown Pittsburgh. If you've ever been here before and then and say it was 10 years ago and you come back today, you will be absolutely amazed by what you see. We're going to get into this in a little bit, and this is actually the next talking point on the slide. In the past several months, we've been ranked the #1 city in America for millennials, and we've also been ranked the #1 city in America for retirees. It's so neat what's going on here with the tech boom, with the amount of employment opportunity, with just our diversity in our economy. It allows for both ends of the spectrum, while at the same time being extremely affordable. For example, my wife, myself, and our 3 kids, we live in an A neighborhood, an A school district, what we would classify as an A. We live in a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, split entry home. Nothing extravagant, because we don't believe in dumping a bunch of money into your owner occupied, which is your biggest liability. We believe in putting more money into your investments. However, it is a nice home in a nice area. We paid $175,000 for that home. Our monthly principal, interest, taxes, and insurance are $1,450 a month. That affordability allows us to live the life we want to live and the freedom that we want to have. And that's what Pittsburgh allows. And that's why there's a lot of people coming here, because it's a small, big city that is still extremely affordable and has amazing investment opportunities. For example, you have things going on like UPMC is investing $200 million in that center, making us a magnet for the best and brightest scientists. So you can see where we are. We're in the Northeast. Yes, it does get cold. For example, I spoke to Ben yesterday on the phone, and I had my whole family in the car because we had an unexpected snow day. We got about 15 inches of snow overnight. So I actually did post on my Facebook and my Instagram. Me and my boys went out back and built a huge snowman, which was super fun and super cool. But yeah, we're up here in the Northeast region of the United States. So why we love Pittsburgh? Population and job growth, like I said, very affordable, and also strong cash flow and appreciation. Now, I do want to interject, and I'll repeat this again later on. One of the things that we, like I said already, we focus on relationships. And one of the ways we believe in building long-term relationships is for you to come spend the day with us if possible. We love having that tour day. Usually it's a one-on-one tour day. You email back and forth with us, and we set that up. On that day, we get to focus on building relationship. We get to focus on educating you, and we also get to take you to opportunities. And we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So, population and job growth. The foundation for the reason behind our diversity in our economy and many businesses coming to Pittsburgh is that we have a lot of young, educated talent. We have 34 colleges and universities. And that's really cool, because the #1 college that we have is CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. And we have the University of Pittsburgh. And those two team up together instead of competing with each other, because they're neighbors. They're right next to each other. So you have all that research and development, energy and money working together. And that's one of the reasons why Uber, out of all the places in the world that Uber can choose to get their first driverless car up and running, they've chosen Pittsburgh. And there's just so many other companies that continue to grow here, like Google, like Seagate. And a lot of that is because they want to capture all of this young talent. Now, this is a really cool thing. We are the #1 city in America for green commercial real estate. That's absolutely amazing when you think about that. We produced 60% of the steel for World War II. Can you imagine that? 60% of the steel, all the airplanes, all the tanks, all the guns, all the bullets. And with that came a lot of pollution. We used to be the #1 most polluted city in the world. And now we're the #1 city in America for green commercial real estate. If you want to get an idea how polluted, how dirty we were, there used to be what was called the black snow that would cover the porches of the houses in the city of Pittsburgh. That was actually the soot that came from the steel mills. And now we've made this amazing transformation. We have 15 Fortune 500 companies headquartered here. We have 2.6 million in our metro population. We talked about UPMC, and we are the #1 city, like I said, for homeowners, for retirees, for millennials. You can see here that we just continue to have job growth. New companies continue to come here to capture the young talent because it's very affordable. It's a great place to operate. Like I said, the affordability here, the main thing I want to point out is that Real Wealth Network members who work with us, their purchases of the homes were 61% less than the U.S. average. Just to give you an idea, in a B neighborhood, you're able to be totally invested in a beautiful, beautiful home for between $65,000 to $95,000, which is absolutely phenomenal. And on that, you're gonna achieve about an 8 to an 8.5% cash on cash return, which leads us to our next slide. Our Real Wealth Network members purchase to rent ratio is about 1.19% on average. You normally don't see that ratio over 1% too often anymore, but because of the taxes and because of the way things work here in Pittsburgh, that is still very, very, very achievable. And as you can see, we continue to grow in value. From January of 18 through June of 18, there was an 8.23% growth in home values, up from the year before. And that trend just continues. Now, when you invest with us, once again, we're always aiming to underpromise and over-deliver. Therefore, we want you to do your projections based off of 3 to 5% equity growth, home value growth. However, in many instances, we are achieving quite a bit more than that. Okay, now we're going to look at some recently purchased investment properties. Before we do, Ben, I would really like to explain to everyone the difference between us and the rest of the affiliates. Are you okay with me doing that?
Yeah, no, if you didn't do it, I was going to. So I'd love it if you would do that. And then one other real quick thing, I always forget to say this, questions. Please type any questions you may have for our guest here in the GoToWebinar control box, and we will answer them in turn or at the end. So got one question so far about how landlord friendly Pittsburgh is, but we'll get to all of them in turn. But yes, please explain the difference.
Well, let's go ahead and let's touch base on that question first. Pittsburgh is a very, very landlord friendly city. We normally have tenants out of the property when needed for eviction in about 30 to 45 days, and that will cost the owner about $300. So because of that, one of the things I'm going to point out when we get to the other slides is that we renovate our properties about 2 to 3 steps above the other rentals in most given neighborhoods. Therefore, we believe the first step in tenant screening is the renovation, because when you do a high quality renovation, you can expect the highest quality possible tenant for that given area. Therefore, you get a lot of applications. And also, when people see that you care about the property, there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to take care of the property. So as a result, our average single family tenant stays for 3 to 10 years with an average of 5.5 years, as Ben can attest to, because he's had the same tenants in his property ever since it's been rented out, and so have Kathy and Rich.
Yeah, it's been really nice. Turnover is just the killer. I mean, it just really does mess with cash flow for the year. So it's really nice to have a long-term tenant.
Right, right. Now, we are the only, like Ben said early on, we are the longest standing team with Real Wealth Network, which I'm very, very honored to be. And we are the only Real Wealth Network affiliate that operates under what's called the semi-turnkey or the BRRRR strategy, which means when you purchase a property for us, it's pre-renovation. It's not already renovated. It's not already tenanted. The day of closing, it actually goes on to the renovation schedule. which is usually a few months after you close, the renovation starts, and then after it's renovated, it then goes into the property management phase, gets marketed, gets rented. So what the BRRRR strategy stands for is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Some people choose to do the refinance portion. Some people choose to not do the refinance portion. And there's pros and cons to the full turnkey model and to the BRRRR strategy. The pros to the full turnkey model is when you close on the property, it's already renovated. You could get a tenant in there right away if there's not already one. The pros to the BRRRR strategy are that you get equity in the deal. Normally, when you operate under the full turnkey model, you're paying at or close to full market value. With the BRRRR strategy, you're getting 5 to 15% equity. Also, with the BRRRR strategy, you get the tax benefits of the renovation. Under the full turnkey model, the full turnkey provider funds the renovation and therefore gets the tax benefits of that. Under this model, you fund the renovation and therefore get the tax benefits of that. My wife and I, we do at least several renovations a year because we want to legally put more money in our investments and less money in the government's pocket. And there's also several other benefits to the BRRRR strategy. My favorite being is that we have zero inventory. We tailor fit our search for you. You send us what's called the commitment package, and we go out and find the deal that meets your needs, and or you come tour with us, and we take you to deals that are on the open market when you come here. The nice thing about that is I get to focus on building relationships rather than selling you what I have. And that's why I love this business. And that's the major reason that I believe that we're the longest standing team with Real Wealth Network. So that is how we differentiate ourselves from every other Real Wealth Network affiliate. And some people are just like you said at the beginning, Ben, there's different investment strategies out there. Some people are going to be more geared towards the full turnkey model, but we found that a lot of people really like the BRRRR strategy and work with us because of that.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Sorry about that. I was on mute, but absolutely no. That's a perfect thing. It just depends on what your perspective is. Some people just they really would prefer to have something all done, and other people don't mind doing the holding costs and incurring those, but getting the tax benefits of doing the BRRRR strategy like you just described. So speak with your investment counselor, and if you don't have one, an IC as we call them, if you don't have one, then just you can get one and you can sign up really quickly and easily. We'll talk about it at the end, and then we can put you in touch. Anyway, just wanted to say that. Good way of explaining your differentiation. Well put.
Thanks, Ben. So I throw this up here. This is Kathy and Rich's duplex, and these numbers aren't the same anymore. Kathy and Rich bought this several years ago, and just about a year and a half or 2 years ago, their tenant did sign a new 5-year lease, which is pretty unheard of, but pretty phenomenal. So these numbers aren't current numbers, but I put this up here to show you that Kathy and Rich have invested with us. We do partner on another deal, and this is in the same town that Bubba Bazicevich purchased our family's investment property. I am actually sitting about 7 streets over from this property right now in my office. Okay.
Nice.
I'm waiting for the slide to change. Okay, here's a property on 9th Street. This is one of our more recent deals, and once you speak with your investment counselor, and they direct you to our website, you'll be able to go to the prior deals tab, and you'll see we have a ton of prior deals. And at the top of the prior deals tab is the most recent properties. Every time a property comes out of renovation, it goes right onto our website under the prior deals tab. So the ones at the top are the most recent ones. Another thing that I want to note that really our clients really like is when your property's under renovation, we have a shared Google Drive folder with you, and 3 out of 4 weeks of the month you get photo updates uploaded to your Google Drive folder. We have clients from all over the world, and they don't have to wonder what stage of the renovation their properties in. They get to go to that shared Google Drive folder and consistently see updates on their property so they know what's going on. Okay, so this is actually in the same town that I'm sitting in right now, that Kathy and Rich's property's in, that Ben's property's in, and that Bubba Bazicevich came to in 1895. This is a beautiful 4-bedroom house. This was built in 1915. A lot of our properties are built between the early 1900s to the 1950s, 1960s. A lot of people jump right into the mindset, isn't new or better? I don't believe that at all. When you go into these properties and you see the 2x4s that are in these properties, they are actually 2 inches by 4 inches. Whereas when you go to Home Depot today and you go to newer homes and you see the 2x4s, they're milled down. They're not 2 inches by 4 inches. They take about a 1/4 inch off of each of them. Also, a lot of these old homes have plaster and lath. For many of you don't know what that is, but lath board is thin strips of wood that runs through the walls, and then the walls are plaster, not drywall. Much, much better built. So when you perform the necessary work, these homes last a long, long time. The total investment for this home was about $68,500. The projected gross rent was $950. We rented the house out for $850, and we rented the garage separately for $100. We do that in some areas. Projected net rent was $562. This is a C-plus neighborhood. Believe it or not, less than 5 miles from downtown Pittsburgh. I actually can look out my window when I'm talking to you right now and see downtown Pittsburgh.
Hey, I do have one question here. Would you mind telling the listening public what neighborhood that is? Because Margie wants to pull it up on Google Maps. But it's 9th Street.
Yes, McKees Rocks, PA.
Okay, McKees Rock. That's MC capital Kees, second word,
Yep.
Rocks. Thank you.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, and ma'am. So here's the numbers spelled out for you. Like I said, rent $950, $850 for the house, $100 for the garage. When you net it out, you're at about $6,751. So in our C and C plus neighborhoods currently, you're going to achieve somewhere around a 9% cash on cash return. And then in our B neighborhoods, it's going to be somewhere around an 8% cash on cash return. Now, that is before you refinance. I want to remind you, back to the BRRRR strategy, you come up with all the cash first, and then once you've owned the property for 6 months and 1 day, or after the renovations are completed, whichever is later, you start your refinance process. The reason why you want to wait for 6 months and 1 day before you start your refinance process is because after 6 months and 1 day, you can use the after repair value rather than what you purchased it and renovated it for. And like I said, with most of our deals, you're going to have 5 to 15% equity. So you want to be able to capitalize on that equity when you refinance. And that's one of the benefits. Okay. So now we're going to go into some before and after pictures. You're going to get to see like I said, we renovate our properties 2 to 3 steps above most other rentals in a given neighborhood. Therefore, we get a ton of rental applications. Therefore, we're able to be, our affiliate property managers able to be super picky. And also tenants know that we take care of our properties, and therefore they want to take care of the properties. So check out what we did here. Two-tone, all the patchwork that was needed. This place needed a ton of patchwork to come out nice. We do a nice two-tone paint color to really make it pop. Look how that stands out, how beautiful that is. You could see our entryway straight through into our kitchen. We used a wet area flooring. That's Premier Click wet area flooring. That flooring alone is $2.12 a square foot. Most landlords and property managers use a wet area flooring that costs about 99 cents a square. We believe in spending more money today to save money in the long run. And that's what you're going to see with our property. You can see when you look in that doorway on the left, that's a laminate flooring. That's a nice laminate living area flooring. I want you to notice that we put quarter round down. We finish everything nice. We have nice clean lines where the walls meet the ceilings. We swap out the outlets and the switches. We make everything nice and clean and complete. We don't trip over dollars to pick up pennies. We always do handrails per code. We always do smoke detectors, CO2s, fire extinguishers per code. One of the reasons that we are been with Real Wealth as long as we have. Here you go. We put in a nice new kitchen. Once again, this is a C neighborhood and C plus neighborhood. We do a nice kitchen. There's no rentals in the neighborhood. I should say not no, but very little rentals in the neighborhood can compete with the quality of product that we put out. Let's head to the next. I'm heading to the next slide. Sometimes there's a lag. You can see we upgraded the bathroom. We ripped out the wall tile. We put in a new wall tub surround, new tub, new flooring, two-tone paint color, new vanity, new toilet. Everything's new in this particular property, and it shows. And that's why it rented out very quickly, and that's why we'll have tenants in there for a very, very long time. Here goes your dining room. Once again, you can see the nice laminate flooring we use, the two-tone paint color. We did put new windows in here. We painted the fireplace really nice. We kept it because it really stands out, and then we painted it to look very, very nice. Here we go. Now, this is the biggest thing you're going to find with us. We are always looking to add value. I really like this picture because on the left, you could see the lady that sold us the property. She had lived in that property. She raised her family there. She lived in that property for 60 to 70 years. She did her best to take care of the property, and she did for a lot of years. And this is the situation with many of our properties. Families are born and raised in them. And being a Pittsburgher, the husband is normally the one who performs the maintenance on the home. Pittsburghers are very blue collar and very thrifty with their money and very hands-on. So they like to do their own repairs. They don't want to pay anybody to come in and do their repairs. However, what happens as the husband and wife get older, the husband isn't able to do the repairs as much. So the house becomes more and more in disrepair. And just statistically speaking, the husband normally passes away before the wife. And when that happens, the wife is on a fixed income and she's not able to afford to keep up with the house as much. And then she either passes away and goes into retirement home. And many of the times that's when we get the home and we're able to bring it up to where it used to be in its glory day. This used to be an attic. When we bought this, it was an attic, which it added no value as a rental. It wasn't being used as a bedroom. It didn't have a heat source and it didn't have a closet. This is one of my favorite rooms in the house because we added value not only to the overall value of the house, but we're able to get an extra $100 a month in rent because we converted this attic into a fourth bedroom, made it really pretty, really big, really spacious, therefore really adding a lot of value. We are always looking how we can add value to a property when we purchase it. Here's the basement. Basement is big, nice, and clean. The laundry's done in the basement. That foundation, it's like a bomb shelter. That foundation is very solid. This is one of the reasons why our properties rent before other rentals in any given neighborhood, because most landlords don't put any money into their basement. We make our basements nice and clean and comfortable because you're going to be spending a lot of time down there. You're going to be doing your laundry down there. The kids are going to be playing down there in the winter when it's cold out. So we put some money in the basement, make it nice and clean, and that's one of the reasons why our properties rent out pretty quickly. Okay, here's the next sample property. This is a B neighborhood. Total investment around $83,000. Projected gross rent $1,000. We actually got more than that. We got $1,050, and projected net rent $627, which I said we got more than. This is really, really close to the multi-million. Shell Oil Corporation is putting in a $6 billion cracker plant. One thing I haven't mentioned is that north and west of us, within about 30 to 60 minutes, we have the second largest oil reserve in the United States. We have the Marcellus and the Utica Shale, which make up the second largest oil reserve in the United States. Because of that, we're getting a lot happening. And so this is really close to that. We've been investing in this neighborhood for years, and it's getting harder because of the competition there. But this is a neighborhood we still invest in. Total investment $83,000. You can see how the numbers work out. This place is absolutely gorgeous when you see the befores and afters. There you go. You see the two-tone paint color again, swapping out the outlets, everything very similar. There are some differences we do in a B neighborhood versus C neighborhood, which I could explain to you more later in being able to save time. You can see in this particular instance, we were able to refinish the hardwood floors, so we did. If we're able to save and refinish the hardwood floors, that is what we do. We're not always able to do that because of stains and other reasons, but when we can, we do. We put new windows in the dining room. The kitchen came out really, really nice. We did a brown shaker cabinet here with nickel hardware. You could see the same flooring that we used in the other place when we did have to replace the flooring. We carpeted from the steps up in this particular property, cleaned up the bathtub, cleaned up the bathroom. Here's headed down your basement. Like I said, we make the basement really pop, really clean. One of the reasons why our properties rent out quickly. And here's the last one. This is another B neighborhood property, and this is another area that we've been investing in for many years. Now, what I want to point out here is check out that room on the right. The old owners made that into a dining room. Okay. Now, as a rental, that dining room doesn't add any value. So we closed it back up and we turned it into another bedroom, therefore adding value to the property. When you work with us, we're always going to be looking to add value. You can see how nice that flow through is. There's your dining room right into your kitchen, your steps going upstairs. You have your bathroom over there on the left. This place came out really, really pretty. We didn't need to put a new kitchen in. We just cleaned it up. Our property manager, they charge 80% of the first month's rent for a tenant procurement fee, 9% per month on management. They manage, we oversee the management of about 1,100 properties. Average vacancy time is about 20 days. Section 8 tenants, about 5% of the portfolio. Questions and comments?
We have lots of questions. Real quick, the last one that came in, could you just go back, since you've got control, go back to the slide that had the numbers of this particular property, the one that you just showed, the last one. There we go. Perfect. That's a good looking little place.
It's pretty, man. It's really pretty.
Nice. And you know, I know this came out before, but is there a name for the neighborhood? Like, does the neighborhood have a name? Like
Penn
Upper
Hills.
West End or anything? What is
Penn
it?
Hills. Penn Hills.
Penn Hill. Okay, perfect. Okay, got lots of questions here. Let's see. It is 38 past the hour, so you've got 22 minutes. I think we'll be able to do that. Go back to the question slide just so that we have that there. So what are the property taxes? Can you touch base on that in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, very much. The property taxes vary by school district. The way it works in Pittsburgh is your property gets assessed. You have a property assessment, and then you also have what's called a millage. The millage is set by, you have three things that make up the millage. You have the school district millage, you have the city millage, and you have the county millage. And the school millage varies by school district. So there's no set rate.
Right. And if you add them all up, you know, like city plus school plus county, do you have a rough idea? And we won't hold you to this, but like what it works out to, like 3%, 1%? Do you have any idea?
Like I said, believe me, I get this question asked all the time. There is no across the board number to that.
Okay.
Maybe around 1.5% to 2%.
Okay, that's cool. All righty. And do you typically provide? Well, I mean, I think I'm going to give your vocal cords a little rest here. The question is, do you provide property with renters? So the answer to that is, you as the investor buy the property in its rough condition. Typically, you'll buy it all cash, and then once the renovation is done, then you'll turn it over to the management company. The management company will place a tenant in, and the tenant will be placed and paying rent. So when you acquire the property as the investor, it's empty because it needs to be renovated.
That's exactly right.
All right. And how old? Well, I already know the answer. You do not do new construction. for the most part. And how old are the units? Obviously, there's a range. So maybe give us an idea of oldest to newest.
Yeah, normally around early 1900s to around 1965.
Got it. Okay. What is the average time to renovate and have a tenant in place after purchasing the property?
Great question. Great question. So once again, I want to go back to the fact that we always aim to under promise and over deliver. So at
Mm-hmm.
the current moment, we have all clientele putting in their estimates a vacant from the time you close until the time you have a tenant. We want you to expect 7 to 11 months. We normally beat that time frame tremendously. However, if you go into it expecting 7 to 11 months and we have it renovated and have a tenant in there for you after 7, you're going to call Ben up and you're going to be extremely happy. If we tell you to project 6 months and it takes 7, you're going to be really mad. You're going to call Ben and say these Pittsburgh people are a bunch of liars. We don't ever want to do business with them again.
All right. Okay, back to taxes for a second. Are they reassessed frequently? And if so, how often do they get reassessed? I mean, I guess that would mean the property value.
Great question. Historically, we've gotten reassessed once every 10 years, and our last reassessment was 2015.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow, the questions are just pouring in. All right, got a couple questions, and you may have, I think I heard you address this, but lead paint. Obviously, lead paint used before 1978 or thereabouts. Being that these properties are pretty old, is that an issue? And maybe you can address that.
Great question. A lot of good questions coming in. I love questions, Ben. Um, Lead paint is not an issue because the regulation for red paint is to encapsulate it, which means you have to paint over it. And we're most of our properties are whole house paint, so that doesn't tend to be an issue for us.
Right. All right. And you've highlighted the oh God, was it Penn Hill neighborhood in McKees Rocks, but you're not limited to that. I mean, you can you mention some names in some other neighborhoods that is kind of within your buy box?
So one of the reasons why I recommend the tour is because we invest in about 17 different neighborhoods all around the Pittsburgh area. And as a result, there's some variation, and that's why coming in and getting an idea for the quality of rehab we do and the type of neighborhoods we invest is important. So I could state out a lot of neighborhoods. I'll just throw a few out there. I said McKees Rocks. I said Penn Hills. We invest in Ambridge. We invest in Beachview. We invest in Mount Oliver. We invest in Carrick, Brentwood, Monroeville, Churchill, Troy Hill. And the names just go on and on. We don't limit ourselves. Wherever there's opportunity, that's where we invest. We invest in C neighborhoods. We invest in C plus. We invest in B plus. We invest in A neighborhoods. What we don't do is we don't invest in D neighborhoods. Like I said, we're a family owned and operated business. And part of that is we want to go home to our families every day. There's not many D neighborhoods in Pittsburgh, but the ones that are here, we stay out of.
Got it. Is there anything available, or do you ever see anything available if somebody wanted to buy a newer built property? And they didn't define what they mean by newer, but maybe newer than 1965.
Yeah, you do come across that sometimes. And if they really want something much newer, most likely you're going to be in an A-class neighborhood and one that we don't typically invest in. You can do that. We do have clients who do that. You just have to be willing to take a lesser return accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what about in terms of the cost of renovation? If an investor was just wanted to know what the cost of the reno, well, the question is, how do we know the cost of reno? Well, it's actually very easy and very transparent because with this model, you are buying the property. So on January 1, you go out and you visit, you see the place, you see a bunch of houses, you like a particular house, then they'll make an offer on your behalf on the open market. You're paying X for the property. Then they'll estimate, I mean, before you do that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you'll estimate pretty accurately what it's going to cost to renovate that property. So you've got two numbers. You've got the number for the house and you've got the number for the renovation. So it's very transparent.
Exactly. You not only do you get the number for the renovation, you get a detailed scope of work. We believe in over communication. And that's another reason we've been with you guys as long as we have been. And as a result, we believe in a very, very detailed scope of work so that the client knows exactly what's being done and exactly what's not being done, and what the associated cost is for that scope of work. We don't give a line item pricing. We do give an overall cost for that detailed scope of work.
Yep. Okay. If I were to do the BRRRR strategy with you, would I need to find a hard money lender first rather than traditional financing?
You would need one way, shape, or form to come up with all the capital. And then you would refinance afterwards. So however you came up with that money, that would be the way to go. I mean, I personally don't use hard money myself because of its cost. I like to use private money. So I like to use friends, family, and things of that such, and pay them rather than paying a hard money lender what they cost. But whatever route you go would be the way to go.
Yep. Okay. How about this one? This is an interesting one. With the BRRRR strategy, are you improving for highest appraisal, or are you kind of splitting the difference between rent and sell value? In other words, let me just kind of rephrase. You can improve a property to be sold at the highest possible value for the neighborhood for an end user, or you can do a solid, sound job but not over improve and kind of improve to the level that a renter will appreciate. So how do you decide, where do you fall on that scale?
Your second statement is where we fall. We improve about 2 to 3 steps above the rentals in the given neighborhood, which is, as you can see from our pictures, is really nice. And however, we're not overdoing it, or else it wouldn't make sense as a rental.
Right. In other words, you're not doing the El Cheapo Home Depot special with the bare minimum El Cheapo faucets and whatnot that are going to fall apart and cost the investor money in 2 years. But you're also not going in there and putting stainless and granite everywhere, because it would not be appropriate for the neighborhood necessarily, and you're not going to get your return on your investment.
Exactly.
Okay. All righty. Now, this is a good one. What fees are charged to close and to renovate? How does TJ's group make money on the BRRRR strategy? Do you mind addressing that?
I don't mind that at all. Actually, that's my favorite question. Your total investment, those total investments that you saw in the sample properties, those are made up of 5 costs: your purchase price, your closing cost, your home warranty, your renovation cost, and the consultation fee. We have a fixed consultation fee. It doesn't vary per property. And that's the reason why you, as the investor, achieve 5 to 15% equity. With the full turnkey model, what happens is the full turnkey provider buys as cheap as they can, renovates as cheap as they can, and sells as high as they can, and their profit margin's in the middle. Therefore, they're making as much as they can on every single deal, and I don't blame them for that. That's their prerogative. That's their model. However, with our model, we're not milking every ounce of profit possible out of every single deal. What you get the property for, what you get the property for. The renovations are what the renovation numbers are, what the renovation numbers are, and our consultation fee is what our consultation fee is, and it's all fixed, and therefore you get all the equity above that.
Yep. Makes sense. All right, this is an interesting one, and I can answer it, but I'll just see how you answer it first. But after BRRRR, after you buy, renovate, refi, rent, are you in closer to a break-even position, or are the numbers you're showing including the new mortgage payment? And I believe the answer is no. There's no mortgage payment determined in this at all. The numbers you're showing are assuming, is that correct, that it's owned all cash?
Correct.
Yep. However, let me just add to that, and then I'll shut up. You can refinance whole 75% of the ARV, or after repair value, out of the property, and I think it's fair to assume that you're still going to cash flow to a quite pleasant layer. I mean, in fact, some people get 80 or 90% of their money back out. Sometimes you might even hit 100. But the point is, it will cash flow. Otherwise, there's really no point in doing it.
Exactly. You cash flow, and normally what happens is your cash on cash return increases.
Yep. Right.
Because you have less cash out of pocket, Even though your cash goes down, your cash on cash return increases. And then what happens is you go and use OPM, right, Ben? Other people's money. You use the bank's money to go do your next deal. And then you do the same thing, and then you use your bank's money to go do the next deal. That's one of the way our family has built our portfolio.
Exactly. Another question on the BRRRR strategy: what is the typical renovation cost per property? I mean, maybe there's a range, I'm sure.
That varies so much. It depends. I mean, our typical renovation would be somewhere in the range of $30,000 to $45,000. However, we've done some renovations as of late where the renovation was more in the $70,000 to $80,000, and we've had some renovations where the renovation was maybe $23,000. But the typical is between $30,000 to $45,000.
Yep, yeah, that's about what mine was, as I recall. All righty. All right, here's a question that I can answer and give you a little breathing room. But how do I get notified of available properties from this provider? All right, well, Christopher, what you do is if you've had a strategy session with myself or Joe or Aristotle, there's three of us, then you just reach out to us or email us and say, hey, send me the contact info for Pittsburgh, and we will, at the click of a mouse, we'll send you the contact information, and then you reach out to them directly, get on their list, or have a conversation. I don't think you really have a list, but you have conversation with you. If you have not had a session with one of us, it's really easy. You just book one, and then we put you in touch with them. So just a matter of you speaking with the provider in Pittsburgh and having a conversation, and you guys are working directly together. All right. Yes, not sure if I missed it. Is there a seasoning period for the refinance after putting a tenant? And you'd mentioned this, is that you're better off, it has nothing to do with when you put the tenant, but you're better off waiting 6 months and a day from the day that you close on 123 Main Street. You close January 1, wait until June 30th. That way, when you do refi, they can use the after repair value, which is usually beneficial to you. And it's going to take quite a long time for them to rehab anyway. So yeah. Okay, here's some pushback on the length of time it takes you. The question is 7 to 11 months is too long. Why does it take so long? A 30,000 rehab should be 1 month. So why don't you go ahead and address that?
Okay, so there's a few things there. I would say a 30,000 rehab should not be 1 month if you're doing a quality job. It would be nice if that was the only rehab you were doing. I agree with that. But a $30,000 rehab is normally about a 2-month project, maybe sometimes 2.5 months. However, we have many projects that are awaiting to be started rehab. The day you close is the day your project goes on the renovation schedule, and it gets in line with the other rehabs that are waiting. See, what you see with us is we focus on quality over quantity. I could go to Home Depot today and pick up 5 new contractors. However, those 5 new contractors, if they're available to work, that means they're not busy, and they're not busy for a reason, right? Because they're probably not quality contractors. So what we do is we find quality contractors who want steady work year round, and that's how we find our crews, but that takes time. So right now we have about 9 crews we're running, and at that we have a backlog of projects waiting to be started. And as we close on deals, we have more projects that are waiting to be started, and then we keep adding on crews, and that's a constant process. But one of the reasons that we're with Real Wealth as long as we have is we will not compromise quantity for quality, and therefore, as a result, we're going to have projects waiting because there's a lot of good clients like yourself who want to work with us because they see the value in what we do. And during your vacancy time, you have to remember you own that property all cash. Therefore, your carry cost is your taxes, your insurance. Taxes are normally between $150 to $200 a month. Your insurance, and if you have a cost of money, your cost of money. That's your carry cost during that period. You're not carrying a mortgage.
Right. So that brings us to the obvious next question. If somebody would like to take advantage of your knowledge of the area, but really does not want to wait 7 to 11 months because for whatever reason, would you work with them, or is it they have to go all in and have you renovate also?
If they were locating properties that we hadn't already identified, and they wanted us to evaluate the property, they wanted to manage their own rehab, but then utilize the rest of our team afterwards, because what that consultation fee includes, it's our lifetime commitment to you and your property. As you can imagine, over the past 90 plus years, we've built a lot of teams, we've built a lot of systems, we've built a lot of relationships. So if you want to access to all that, we'll be willing to work with you. However, it would have to be on properties that we don't locate, because we have other clients who would be waiting for that, as we always have committed investors waiting for deals. And also, it would constitute you paying the consultation fee.
Right. Well, I guess if somebody says, look, I don't really know the McKees Rocks, Pittsburgh area. You obviously do, but I've renovated properties before in other areas. Why don't I have you guys source a property for me, but then I then take it over, handle all the holding costs, and deal with the renovation and everything myself? In other words, I think I can get it done faster. Would you be willing to work with them and, like, still charge them something, maybe your full consultation fee, maybe not?
Yeah, that would be something we'd have to discuss on a per circumstance basis.
Okay, just thought I'd ask you publicly, because I think that's come up, and we've got a couple questions on that. And it's it's a good problem to have when you think about it. It's like, yeah, 7 to 11 months is a long time, but in this economy, with everyone rehabbing things and things on the upswing, it's hard to find decent contractors. You're kind of dealing with the people at the bottom of the barrel, so you really have to be careful who you pick up. But you said you have like 9 crews. So yes. At any given point, can you give us an idea about how many projects you have going on?
We try to keep, to be efficient, we try to keep one crew on a project at a time, so that they can bust through that project and not be spread thin. But as of right now, I think we're working on about 11 or 12 projects.
Got it. 9 crews, 11 projects. Yep.
Now here's the thing is, with that all being said, I just want to touch base, because that's really important, is that, listen, one of the reasons why we have the relationship we have with the property manager and we were able to negotiate reduced pricing is because we put out a certain quality product that allows them to rent out quicker, it allows them to have less maintenance. Therefore, if this person was going to do their own, it would need to be up to that same quality. And number 2, we've had 2 people in the past several months go out and attempt to do the renovations on their own. And both of them have come back to us because the contractors that they've chosen have ran out with money, and or have hit them with thousands upon thousands of dollars of add-ons that made their renovation way more than what it would have been if they had waited with us. So once again, I always urge people to really think about the long-term goal, because that quality and that reliability has a big value to it.
Yep, understand. All right. Are there any other city or local fees, or how like some markets have weird things, like Cleveland, they do like a point of sale, and they like a municipal HOA, but are there any other hidden kind of, oh boy, fees or required inspections that the person has to put up with in Pittsburgh?
Some of the townships, some of the little school districts or areas, they have like a $40 a month, $40 a year rental permit fee and things like that. It just varies per neighborhood.
But that's pretty minor. It's not like, oh, $900 a year to do this or that, or here comes the city, the jackbooted thugs from the city telling you got to do this or that, and holding your property hostage. There isn't anything extreme like that you're aware of.
No.
Cool. All righty. Okay, we got to wrap it up here, but I've got a couple other quickies. If you could try to be kind of quick, does the BRRRR strategy work well in peak markets? And what are the best strategies for peak markets? You're not. So let me just add really quickly. A lot of the people listening are from coastal areas, Boston, New York, Seattle, Denver nowadays, Vegas, San Francisco, LA, places that zoom up and down like a roller coaster. And Pittsburgh is a lot more of a linear market. Although it's more expensive now than 2012, because every place is, you're much more conservative as a market. So it's not like you have these picks peaks and valleys, right? So, I mean, would you consider that you're kind of in a peak market, or how do you see your market?
I see our market as that slow and steady. I mean, I would say that a lot of people on this call probably still think of Pittsburgh as dirty, dingy, old, and rusty. And Ben, you've been here, you know that's not the case. So because we're under the radar, because we're not LA, we're not New York, we're not Vegas, we're not Jersey, those kind of areas that get a lot of publicity, and different areas, I would say that we're definitely not peak. We're getting more expensive. We continue to get a lot more attention, being ranked the #1 most livable city in America 4 out of 6 years. However, that's why the BRRRR strategy works here. And I think the BRRRR strategy could work in any market if you can buy right? If you're able to buy right, then the deal can work. So it's just buying right, and it's having a team that's really reliable that can handle that BRRRR strategy. I mean, as you know, Ben, when we started working with Real Wealth 10 years ago, there was a lot more affiliates that did do the BRRRR strategy. However, we're the only one that's left because of the fact that there's certain things that go into it, and you need to have someone who's really trustworthy to do it.
Yep, exactly. What about appreciation? I mean, so once again, slow and steady, but is it a couple percentage points a year, or what have you seen?
We want all clients to expect 3 to 5%, as you've seen from the slide earlier. From 17 to 18, we had about an 8.23% medium growth in our home values. So you are seeing that a lot more. It's a lot. We've been achieving for the past few years higher than 3 to 5%. However, we want all clients coming in to expect 3 to 5%.
Gotcha. And here's a question that you really can't answer, but I'm just going to ask it anyway, and you can kind of ballpark it. But somebody doing the BRRRR strategy, how much of the cash that they put in for the purchase and the subsequent reno and the holding costs, how much can they expect to pull out when they do the ARV 6 months or 9 months later?
So it's all ballpark. But let's say you're all in at 80,000 and the place appraises for 88, and you get 75% of that. That's going to give you 66 back. So you're going to be left with 14 grand sitting in the property plus closing costs. So say you're left with about 17 grand sitting in the property, and then you have, after closing costs, you have 63 to go reinvest, and you have to top that back off with some of your own money and do that same process again.
Yeah, I did it once in Florida. I was hoping to get 100% of my money back, and I came, it was like 80 something, or 85. But wouldn't it be great to buy a property, renovate it, and get 100% of your money back? Because mathematically, then you've got an infinite return because you have zero money in the property. I haven't managed to do that yet, but people do. All right, let's see. Appreciation, we've got that. Okay, well, I think that about covers it. Most of the rest of these questions here are either too hard to get to or are kind of redundant. So if you could advance for me to the next slide. And we talked about this briefly, but I just want to reiterate: if you want to contact our Pittsburgh affiliate, contact your investment counselor or IC today. And if you don't have one, speak with one. It's easy and free. Just go to realwealthnetwork.com/connect. We're not interested in spamming people. We're not going to harass you with things and force you to accept a free toaster. Nothing like that. The way we, Real Wealth Network, makes our money is we get a broker-to-broker finder's fee from our affiliates. It's pretty modest. We don't charge our members anything. So all you got to do is speak with one of us. We kind of qualify you, you kind of qualify us, and then we can connect you with whichever affiliate, whichever market or markets you are interested in. And we'll also talk to you about what your goals and priorities are if you want to get into that. You certainly don't have to. All righty, I think let's see if that's the last slide. I believe it is. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Yep, that's the last slide. Thank you all, everybody. We do this every single week. It was great to have you with us. I know we ran a few minutes over, but it was well worth it. A lot of good questions. Contact us, talk to your IC, get a strategy session set up, or just email us if you already have one. And that's it. Thanks. Good job.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a good one. This is Ben Smith saying goodbye. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.